Hello friends, welcome back to our channel Me and G. Today G, your good friend, is going to talk about how to buy a used car and what are the things you should keep in mind when you're buying a used car. Let's go take a look.
What's this? Isn't it cool? Vroom, vroom.
First of all, you want to know what kind of a vehicle you need, right? It could be a 4-seater, 5-seater, 2-seater. It could be an SUV, sedan, hatchback, etc. Right? In my opinion, in my experience, what I've noticed is Japanese vehicles they tend to have a way more life expectancy as compared to any other American or German brands. German brands, they're going to have a lot of more maintenance to it, and so when you're buying your first used vehicle, you want to make sure that it still has life in it. Okay, so my first vehicle, it was a Subaru. It was a Subaru Forester XT. It was a turbo engine. It's because me and my wife, we were traveling cross country and we wanted to make sure that we were able to tow. So that was my need, so I bought that vehicle. So you want to first start looking into if there's anything wrong with the vehicle. That is one aspect, and the another aspect is the insurance part, because you want to make sure that how much you're going to be paying monthly insurance on that specific vehicle. The first part, you want to try to get the VIN number of the car. VIN number is basically a 17-digit code that each vehicle has. You can either find it on the windshield, or when you open the door, it's in the door panel as well on the bottom. So when you put that VIN number in, let's say, Carfax report, it will show you if there is any liens on that car. Liens as in if there's any money due on that car, or basically shows you what kind of maintenance has been done on that vehicle, what kind of accidents it's been in. So basically A to Z, everything about the car, you will find it on Carfax. It costs you about $70 including tax, but it's really good to have and make sure that you're not getting yourself into buying a lemon. Okay?
Right. So once you've decided what kind of a vehicle you want and you have looked at the Carfax, you can look for vehicles at numerous different platforms. You can look at on Facebook Marketplace, you can find it on Craigslist, you can find it on Kijiji, you can find it on Auto Trader as well. So there are quite a few different platforms, and I would search the category, the vehicle, the year, what kind of engine and specifications you're looking for, and you save that search and you turn on the notification. So whenever anyone is selling that specific vehicle, you'll get a notification that, hey, this is available. So you basically just get into the app and be the first one to reply them. Because I have noticed right now the used car market is so crazy. You'll see a vehicle and it's been there for less than 5 minutes and it's sold right away. So you want to make sure that you jump on that right away. Okay. So
all right, the next thing is insurance, because you want to make sure that the car that you're buying doesn't kill you with the insurance. So what I personally did, I went to the closest ICBC, and because I had sold my trailer over there, they kind of knew me over there. So I went there with a request before I bought the vehicle with the VIN number. So the owner of the vehicle was nice enough to pass me the VIN number as well. So I went in there and I'm like, hey, I'm wondering if I could possibly know what the monthly insurance is going to be like. And so they gave me a generic figure. But starting from 1st of October 2022, the major rule that has been changed is that, let's say if a buyer sells me a vehicle for $500, all right, and I pay taxes on that $500 realistically, because you have to pay 12% over here. Ontario is 13%. So I have to pay 12% on 500. But the change is that they have like a black book value on their system at ICBC or BCAA. They will pull up the valuation of that specific car. If it is not 500, if it's, let's say, 3,000, then you will have to pay tax on the higher amount. So it's going to be on $3,000 and not 500. Of course, you can go an extra mile and try to get it proved with a dealership or something and try to find the valuation of the car and fight it.
but it is going to be a really long process. So I ended up paying a hefty amount of tax, but I knew it was worth it for my car because it had a lot of life. So that is another thing to consider. Also, one of the biggest differences that I found that is different from Ontario and BC is that you have to surrender your license, your physical license, to BC, and only then they will issue you the physical card. So for example, I lived in Toronto for about 11 years, so I had my driver's license card from there, but I also had my driver's license card from back home in India. So when I came to BC, they definitely took my Toronto license, but however, they were looking for my physical card from India as well that I needed to surrender. And only then they could apply that experience into my driver's history over here in BC. So if I don't want to do that, the experience will not be counted. But yeah, they will definitely ask you if you have any license from any other part of the world, then you will need to surrender. So that is another thing you need to consider. Because I had about 15 years of experience in total in my life for driving, I got a really good rate for insurance. But yeah, if you're new here, just because everything is through ICBC over here, you need to get the minimum mandatory coverage is what they call it through ICBC. So that is something you can't really help it. You're just gonna have to pay it. For the people who are moving from Ontario to BC, one of the biggest reliefs that you're gonna get is that you will not need to safety a used vehicle in BC if it's from BC. So I personally drove my own vehicle from Ontario to BC, so I needed to safety it and then pass the BC standards. But let's say if you fly over here, move over here, and you're buying a used vehicle from someone, and then you register in your own name, they will not require you to have a safety certificate. So now you know what kind of a vehicle you're looking for. You know the ins and out about taxes, ICBC, your license from different country, etc. Now is the time to go inspect the vehicle. First of all, if you do not know how to inspect a vehicle, I would recommend getting a mechanic, especially if you know them. Then get it. If you don't know, then I would not trust it. I'm going to go through all the inspection points that you would need to consider before buying a used vehicle. Also, if you come up with something that I did not cover, please let me know in the comment section. But let's go. Let's take a look. First of all, when you buy a vehicle, you're on the site. Don't look the car from inside first. Look it under. Let's take a look. So you go to the bottom and you can see there's not much rust, or honestly there's actually zero rust. You want to see all the way down here, there is no oil leak as well. If you see oil dropping on the floor, run away, because that's gonna charge you at least $1,000 or something to fix it. You don't know what kind of a leak it is. You want to make sure there are zero leaks. Okay, second thing you want to make sure is the suspension. The suspension over here, that is not rusted. You want to make sure the links are not rusted either on any of the four sides. This, the catalytic converter, it's not rusted as well. That's the exhaust pipe that's going all the way through. You want to make sure nothing of that is rusted at all. Okay, if you see rust, that is not a good sign. And see, rust is kind of like cancer. You can't stop it. It keeps growing on it, and eventually your car's gonna die. So make sure it's zero rust on the bottom and no oil leaks whatsoever. A few of other important things you want to look inside is the engine bay. Okay? So when you open any car, you first of all are going to see the kind of engine it has.
and all that kind of stuff is right over here. And when you open the engine bay, you can actually tell if there is any rust or no rust. Okay, this is where the coolant goes. You want to see if the levels are full or they're low. Okay, you want to make sure that. Second of all, this is the dipstick. This is for engine oil. So you basically pull it out and then you check the oil. You want to make sure there's enough oil in there. That way you can tell if this vehicle requires an oil change or not. You can also ask the owner when was the last time they changed the oil. Okay, so those are a few important things, but as you can see, everything else is good. The battery, there is no corrosion over here, which is good. This is where the fuse box is. This is where the air filter will be at. So you just basically open it and then there will be a sheet that basically clears the air. You want to change that every 6 months or so. But yeah, check the headlights if they're working. You want to check the fog lamps, they're working as well. And while you're at it, you also want to make sure that your wiper fluid is full. I mean, they're cheap, but it's something you should keep in mind about, okay? Next things, wheels and rotors and the brake pads. So as you can see, the rotors are kind of rusted over here. You want to make sure when you buy, you are aware of what you're buying. So there's still a lot of life left in here, but you want to make sure that it's not completely corroded. These are the rotor covers. You want to make sure they're fine as well. And the brake pads are actually in here, which is kind of hard to see. Oh yeah, so it's basically right behind this thing right over here. So I know I took it to an inspection and I know that it's about it still has about 40% life left in the brake pads, so that's good. Now that's for the brake pads, rotors, and the rotor covers. You also want to make sure that you check the tires of all the sides basically. As you can see, this one actually has about 80% tread left, and you get, if you have like a 25 cent or something, you put it inside and you can tell how much tread it still has. Okay, you can easily tell if the tires are bald. If they're bald, it's going to be an expensive charge for you to get them changed, so keep that in mind. I mean, also you can find used tires on Facebook Marketplace, but it's another thing you might want to consider. When I was talking about lights, is you want to make sure that the blinkers in the back and in the front, the brake lights, they work, the blinkers, they work. You want to make sure those are working as well. This is the exhaust pipe. As you can see, there's no rust. You want to make sure it's not rusted as well. See, if you see like this oil on the floor when you're going to buy a car, just run away. So when inspecting the vehicle from inside, the first thing you want to check is if the mirrors are working. Second of all, you want to make sure your headlights are working, both of them. And then if you have fog lights, just make sure that they are working as well. You can take a mechanic or your partner or anyone, have them stand outside and turn them on from here and make sure it's working. You also want to make sure from in here if your wipers are working. You want to see the wipers life as well. You basically pull it up and see if the rubber is dying or not. So in here you want to check that. You want to check your honk. You also want to check, I mean, if you want to be nitty-gritty about it, then you want to check your volume, your mode, all that stuff as well. One of the biggest and the most important things you want to keep in mind is looking at the mileage. So when I bought this vehicle, I initially thought that I bought this in kilometers, but it was miles, which I found out, and then we basically came to an agreement. But the important thing is, if you see miles per hour in the speedometer, then your mileage that shows over here total, that is miles and not kilometers. Okay, and if this over here, the speedometer, it shows kilometers, then
it is kilometers and not miles. I hope that makes sense. So that's that. You want to make sure over here that the heating and the cooling system is working properly. Turn on the fan, turn it off, etc. You want to see all the fans are working everywhere, the handbrakes and all the gears, etc. Yeah, apart from that, I think over here it's fine. If the side mirrors are working as well. So as you can see over here, just make sure these are working as well. All right guys, so I hope this video was informative for you. I honestly mean it. If there's any points that I possibly missed, there could be, then please let me know in the comment section. I will do my very best to get it answered for you guys. And yeah, as you know, like, subscribe, the whole shebang. And we'll see you in the next video. Take care.